Hey, Milky here, back again with another video for MarvelSNAP. We have a quick one today, but it's the brand new featured location, Machine World. It's just dropped in game, and we wanted to kind of build a deck around this and see how it can work and maybe set some people up for some success in some of the games that they're going to be having over the next day or so. The Machine World location has an ability which reads, when you play a card here, add a copy to your opponent's hand. This is probably one where you really want to think about actually building a deck around, or at least teching some cards towards it. Probably not the entire deck focused on this location. That's never really a good way to go about it. But I think at least some cards which are going to benefit you if you do see this location. Especially with the rate in frequency coming up for this location, it's definitely something to think about. So I've hacked together a bit of a deck, which I think can be really, really good into this location. I think it's something that can negatively affect what your opponent's doing. It fills up their hand a lot, but it also gives you space to win the game out in the other two locations as well. So let's jump in and take a look at it now. So the deck looks a little bit scrambled at the moment, but I promise you there's a method to this madness. Angel comes in because they're never actually going to get the benefit of Angel because you're adding it to their hand. Similarly with Quicksilver, they're just going to be 1-cost 2-power cards, which you're relatively happy handing over to your opponent. Similarly with Awatu, you can get the full benefit of seeing the future locations yourself and give it over to them on turn 3, which can be a little cheeky thing to do, giving them essentially a card with no ability. And then also a great one I want to highlight is Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw can't be played after turn 3. So if you play this on turn 3, you can get the benefit of having 7 power on your end, but then your opponent is stuck essentially with a dead card in their hand. Swordmaster is in here to free up your hand space. If opponents are giving you lots of cards or filling out your hand and trying to make it really clunky, freeing up a little bit of space, even just one card so you can draw more things with Swordmaster can be really important. He also offers a good 6 power onto the board, which is nothing too shabby. Now, I tried to make this deck as pool 1 and 2 friendly as possible, but a card I really wanted to include was Maximus. Maximus makes your opponent draw cards, which is going to be beneficial for some other cards later on in this deck. He pushes a massive 7 power on the board, which is awesome for a 3-drop, and makes your opponent's hand potentially really, really clunky. He's probably not something you want to be giving your opponent, but he's a great way to win some of the other locations. Sandman's a cheeky one in this deck because if you slam Sandman onto Machine World and you give them a copy of it, if you've got your final turns 5, 6, potentially 7 all mapped out ready to go, Sandman can be a great card to fill up their hand, make it really, really clunky for them to play. Sandman's effect's already going off on the board, and it can really benefit you in that sense. Rescue's great in this deck too, because not only to win a location outside of Machine World, but if you play Rescue onto Machine World on turn 5, they're never going to have anything more than a 4/4 from Rescue. Something to consider, you're playing on late in the game trying to push power potentially on Machine World or another location. Now, you probably never want to give your opponent Iron Man, but Iron Man's in this deck to help you win the other locations. You got to remember you have to win 2 locations in MarvelSNAP to win the game. It's not all about just negatively affecting your opponent with Machine World. So Iron Man's going to help us win some of the other locations in certain games for sure. So now because your opponent is probably going to be making you draw some cards as well, your hand is probably going to be relatively full in this deck. Devil Dino can be a great way to push a lot of power on the board late on in the game, especially with Sandman down on the board. You're only playing 1 card per turn. You can get a lot of value out of Devil Dino. Now, because you're filling up your opponent's hand and making it really, really clunky, Ronin is the opposite of Devil Dinosaur, where you're benefiting from your opponent having lots of cards. Ronin can be a really, really good win condition, especially if you're making your opponent's hand really clunky with things like Sandman and other cards that they can't play. So Ronin can really benefit from that. Lastly, we have Gamora, and I think because of the way Machine World works, it makes it a little bit more predictable as to where they're going to be playing on the final turns, and something you can read a little bit better. So I've got Gamora in there for a solid 5-cost, 12-power push onto the board late on in the game, which I think will be a little bit more easy to get the on-reveal triggers from. Realistically, your win conditions in this deck are Devil Dino, Ronin, Iron Man, and Gamora. Big power push on the board, as well as Rescue bringing some power to the table as well. You have some sneaky ways where you could potentially win the Machine World location with Rescue and some other cards, but for the most part, you're probably going to be trying to win the other 2 locations and trying to mess your opponent up with the Machine World kind of mechanic and the ability that it has. I did consider Collector in this deck, but I think for me, if you're not building a deck around Collector, The maximum you're going to get benefit from your opponent on that is a 2-5, which is good, but I think there's better options in this deck. So I've gone with this deck, and I think it's quite successful. That's our deck for Machine World. We're going to jump into a game and see how we go with it. Hopefully we can get some Machine World action. At the moment, I think I can hold because I don't have a turn 2. So I think we're okay with doing that. Yondu gets rid of our Ebony Maw, which would have been really nice to give him if we get Machine World. But we do get the benefit of holding on turn 1 with the extra card getting hit by Wakandan Embassy, which is quite nice. He's got an Adam Warlock. Okay. It's quite interesting. We have Ronin in hand, so we don't mind him getting some cards here. We absolutely don't mind him getting some cards here. Alright, we're going to give this one more go. Literally one more go. And if we don't get it, we're just scrapping it. We're scrapping the idea. Alright, so for this one, we go... Alright, so for this one, hopefully we can get some Machine World action here. I could hold. I don't have a turn 2 at the moment, so I don't mind holding Quicksilver. Alright, so we do get Machine World in the middle. Let's go ahead and give him a Quicksilver. I think we're okay with that. And it seems like lots of people are just playing around Quicksilver. That's a nice play he made with the Nightcrawler Beast. Definitely rewarded for that one. Do we want to give him the Ebony Maw? Or do we want to give him the Sandman? Ebony Maw or the Sandman? We do have a lot of ways to win the game later on, so maybe we do this. And because we're versing a beast deck, they want to play lots and lots of cards, so let's go ahead and jam this. I'm thinking a Falcon play is coming up, and if we can time this right with the Falcon, this is going to be cheeky. So we just have to be careful of the Bifrost here, because Bifrost is going to move everything over. I think this is going to be the play. It's not easy playing Ronin into... So he's going to give us a Quicksilver, which is interesting. The Sandman really might mess up his deck here. Alright, let's think about it. So we probably just want to play into Machine World on the final turn, I think. If we are going to play in there at all. But I think this could potentially be a really strong play. The other play that we could make is Ronin. He has 6 cards in his hand as well, so maybe Ronin's the best play here. I like Ronin here. Okay, so we're guessing this is an arrow. So he plays arrow here. He wants to play arrow here, right? Which means that we win here. This has got to be an arrow or a Magneto. Magneto doesn't only pulls Sandman as long as we play into here. Arrow gets pulls this. No, if he plays arrow, he doesn't win there. Guess we just Maximus. Is Maximus the safest thing to do here with Ronin? And we just have to hope that our location over here holds up. I think this is it. Is this arrow? Magneto. So it's only going to pull Sandman across and destroy Sandman, but we have the power over the top here. And the Angel comes flying in too, which is a really nice touch on the end. As I mentioned, just a really quick fun video today. Machine World's going to be a really interesting location. There's going to be lots of different decks that you can play in this one. Lots of different types of strategies you can make up. But this is what we've come up with. This is our version of the deck. I'm not sure how successful it's going to be. It's got definitely some different ideas in it. I think it could work quite well, and it worked quite well in some of the games that we played. But check it out, try it out. Let me know in the comments what kind of decks you're playing. I'd love to hear what people are playing in Machine World and what kind of tech cards you're using. But that's going to wrap us up for this one. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you really enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for some more content in the coming days. And until the next one, I'll see you then.